We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast, the official post-game show of your AFC West champions. The Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Los Angeles Chargers 19-17 on a last-minute Matthew Wright doinked in field goal. He doinked it in just to give all the haters just a little bit of hope, just to toy with them a little bit before ripping their hearts out once again. Patrick Allen here with you. Sterling, Holmes, Price Carter. It's the boys. It's the boys for the division championship party. Fellas, how you doing? Sterling, I know you've had a long day. I think you've been boozing today. I think you took in a little sports before the Chiefs game.
Well, yeah, I've been moving yesterday. I went to the Mizzou KU game in Columbia earlier today. Got back in time for kickoff for the Chiefs game. Now we're doing post game show. It has been a day here in my parents' basement. Got to try and find the kegger at my mom's, but I'm convinced the Chiefs are now doing this on purpose. That's the only logical explanation, is they're just bleeping with the rest of the league saying, hey, we keep winning games, but how can we win and also just completely showboat? Because Andy's not going to run the score up. So this is the nice way the Chiefs are winning games. It's the we're going to win, but we're going to make it feel like you have a chance. I have no idea how this is going on. The doink just makes this entire season so perfect. Everything that could go the Chiefs' way, for the most part, outside of injuries, of course, it is. All these type of plays. It makes zero sense. I want to talk about the defense. I want to talk about the offensive line. I want to talk about Patrick. But again, the doink that went in, that's what we're here to talk about right now.
Price, how's your heart rate?
At this point, I think I'm just like accustomed to it, right? Like, it's just like I'm used to doing post game and having to wait until the last second to get on here, and like the entire narrative around the game surrounding the last play of the game. Like, you hear about writers in the press box and they've got a story written for the game, and they try to pre-write it so as soon as the game's over they can publish it. And these type of games, they just like Control A delete all the time because of how wild these games are. So at this point, I'm a little used to it. I don't know what a big win looks like. Although I will say, I do think that sometimes we get a little carried away with the luck narrative. It's sort of that thing where, have you ever like learned a new word and then you like hear it everywhere? You're like, oh, what the, like, I've never heard of this word. And now everyone uses it all the time. I feel like we've got that kind of starting with the end result in mind and working back all the time with the Chiefs. Chiefs got the ball with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left and never gave the ball back to the Chargers. I mean, that's something. Like, they took control of this game. They got key first downs when they needed to. You think about that play to Xavier Worthy. Think about that play to Travis Kelce to extend the drive. Those were huge plays. The doink, we all know we're going to see it on some highlight reel of how the Chiefs are the worst 12-1 team ever. And it's, the worst 12-1 team ever. I'll dry my tears with Super Bowl merch. And, the Chiefs they got a game up in the 1 seed here too. This was huge with the Bills falling at the 3:30 slate. So great to see it. Haters are furious, and I'm loving it.
That's right. So to set the table for you all, the Buffalo Bills, if you aren't watching the games today, lost a tight one to the Rams. Shout out to Josh Allen, by the way, who just balled out of his mind.
Crazy game.
Incredible game by Josh Allen, and they still lost, which shows every team is vulnerable. Even the Bills, who were rolling, their defense has been good. They got roasted by the Rams. So the Bills lose, the Chiefs win. So now the Chiefs go up 2 games, and they play the Browns next week. And who do the Bills play? The Detroit Lions. Everything is falling into the Chiefs' hands. If Detroit can take care of Buffalo next week and the Chiefs can take care of business against the Browns, who are Jameis Winston's a little bit of a wild card, so they're going to need to make sure they catch his interceptions. But the Chiefs are in really good position after this one. We got a super chat from my guy Wiley Possum, who says, "Ain't got no distractions, can't hear no buzzes and bells, don't see no lights a flashing, play by senses of smells, always get the replay, never seen them fall. The KC Chiefs kicker sure plays a mean pinball. Division champs."
Well, talking about pinball. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna go on the road here again. I'm moving houses, so we're seeing my parents right now. How about that one right there, a little Kiss pinball machine?
Oh, nice.
I don't know how to get this camera better.
That's incredible.
Yeah, a little Kiss pinball machine right there. So
amazing. That's one of our best super chats ever, by the way, Wiley Possum.
Yeah, that was incredible. That was real nice.
Dropping bars in the chat.
So there's a lot to talk about here, but I will say on the luck narrative, I just want to address it really quick. Y'all, the Kansas City Chiefs have lost one game since last Christmas. One game to the Buffalo Bills. That's it. They won a Super Bowl. They went on the hardest road to the Super Bowl ever. The Kansas City Chiefs are not lucky. If they were lucky, if you could do this, teams would be doing it. Teams would be like, "Oh yeah, we won the Super Bowl and then we won, 12 of our next 13." It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The Chiefs are in this position because they're good. The Chiefs play a lot of close games. Do you know why? Because they never fucking get blown out. They never get blown out. Do they blow out other teams? No, but they almost always win. It is not luck. If it was, other teams would do it. They can't because they don't have Andy Reid. They don't have Patrick Mahomes. They don't have Travis Kelce. They don't have Chris Jones. That's the difference. At the end of these games, the Chiefs are usually able to make more plays. The Chiefs don't go out there and crap their pants like the Raiders did last week or like the Broncos did when they had a chance to win. The Chiefs just almost crap their pants, just enough to scare everybody before they win the game. All right, let's get into some of the particulars here. Really, after struggling for weeks, the Chiefs defense tightened up, at least in the first half. Chargers got things going in the second half. Sterling, you mentioned you want to talk about the defense. What do you make of this performance today where they shut the Chargers out in the first half? Really only one play that they kind of blew, and the Chargers, the big pass play that Herbert overthrew. But other than that, they were fantastic in the first half. Second half, a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, overall, the defense, I'm pretty damn impressed with. That second drive, obviously they gave up the long touchdown coming out of half. You're going to give up a touchdown at some point. Then the offense went 3 and out. The defense was put in a pretty poor spot in that second half overall, so it's a little hard to judge them completely. But at times when they needed pressure, they got pressure. Herbert did have a lot of time, the majority in this game, but I thought Turk Wharton played really, really nice. I thought the linebackers, to me, that was the most impressive part. I thought, Nick Bolton was flying around. Leo Chenal set the tone early. First play of the game, first possession defensively, diving through a tackle for a loss. I thought Leo was outstanding. Drew Tranquil, really, really good. The secondary was hit and miss. Obviously, with all the injuries, it's probably going to be the case. Najee Johnson, Williams, both went out at one point. They bring in Keith Taylor. He immediately, I think, got injured as well. Couldn't tell if it was cramps or a hamstring, so Najee Johnson has to go back in. Jamari Connor getting picked on and beat. Trim McDuffie had a nice bounce-back game. But you saw a few Chargers wide receivers open deep downfield, especially one early one that Herbert missed on. But overall, I was very impressed with this hodgepodge secondary group of just random guys who would be practice squad call-ups. All of a sudden, they're making an impact in games. Spagnuolo's doing a fantastic job overall. Again, I know the Chargers were without Ladd McConkey, but how many players are the Chiefs without? Yet no one ever brings it up nationally. It's always whoever the Chiefs play. It's always, well, if they had Ladd McConkey, what would happen in this game? Well, the Chiefs had Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown and healthy left tackles and a healthy kicker. Like, it's absurd to me. And Jalen Watson and all this stuff. I'm just impressed with the Chiefs, their physicality and their ability to tackle. Very impressed.
Price, you encouraged by this performance, or is it a mixed bag?
Yeah, I said on the halftime show, I really think this game is going to boil down to how you want to look at things. If you want to be a glass half empty person, you can find all sorts of different things. You've got DJ Humphries, who even before the hamstring injury had his ups and downs. It's expected that he's going to be rusty, but I think you've seen enough at least there to say, like, hey, this isn't this isn't prime Trent Williams. This isn't the solution to all of our problems, which I think until you see someone fail you, it's easy to say like, oh, well, he'll come in and fix all these things. The offense, it's still struggling to get off its feet with Pacheco now back in. And this was a team that, the defense, it is the top scoring defense in the NFL. But if you look at their adjusted schedule by DVOA, like it's a team that's not played a lot of people. And then you go to the other side of the ball and you say, well, they shut them out in the first half, but they don't have Vlad McConkey. They don't have J.K. Dobbins. This is a defense or an offense that they should be dominating. And then they come out in the second half and they move the ball quite well. To me, the biggest thing that stood out in the second half defensively is they started going at Shamari Connor, which I swear the first time he gets his head around in coverage will be the next time will be the first time. Every time this man has got his back turned to the ball. And the big thing was they started running the ball more effectively. At halftime, Taylor Heineke was the leading rusher for the Chargers. And Kamani Vidal and Gus Edwards, they started getting going a little bit more. You stop seeing the Chargers getting 3rd and long, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. They start getting more in 3rd and 3. And that's where the game started opening up. And to the credit of the defense, they did force the Chargers to make some tough plays. Quentin Johnston, surprisingly, came down with some really tough catches. And, on the other side of the coin, if DeAndre Hopkins comes down with that ball at the 1 yard line, that was a really tough catch. I think that it's probably a different game. I think the Chiefs probably score a touchdown there instead of a field goal, and this game isn't as so tight. And, I'm not going to do the ref things, but I think the Chiefs probably got kind of the harder side of some calls there. They got that unnecessary roughness that looked exactly like the call or the tackle that DeAndre Hopkins had, and they get a 45-yard DPI penalty where Justin Reed was turned and looking at the ball. Overall, I think it just continues to be like what you want to see in the details. I think if there's one thing that you can actually take away from this game, I thought in the second half when they started going to Pacheco and they mixed in Kareem Hunt a little bit, I thought that's the best the running game has looked in quite some time. Hopefully that's something they can continue to lean on, and mixing those two guys together. Got a good, drive extending first down by Samaje Perine. That's one thing that I am encouraged by, that this running back rotation can get into a place where it is an actual advantage for this offense rather than just status quo.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be a glass half full guy with this one. This team gave up 340 passing yards to Aiden O'Connell last week. Like, they made the guy look like Drew Brees. So even though they struggled a little bit in the second half, to your point, Price, like one of those, so the Chargers had 3 drives in the second half, the 13-play, 79-yard touchdown drive to open the half, then the 4-play, 74-yard drive that was aided by a huge pass interference penalty. Like, and then they had a 14-play, 57-yard field goal drive. So they were moving the ball. They were playing better, as you said. But I think the defense did a nice job in this one. If you can shut down some teams for an entire half of football, like, it's hard to stop any offense in the NFL, even one that's not particularly great, like the Chargers is, for an entire game. And look, man, shout out to the secondary. Everybody's hurt, and they managed to buckle down there in that first half and make some plays. So I'm good with it. They've still got some work to do. I'm concerned about the injuries at the cornerback position. But what really stands out to me is when they don't get pressure, it's just lights out. Like, they can't. Cook, Hicks, they're always the guys that are involved. Shamari Connor, those 3 are always the guys that are involved when something goes wrong. They're playing a lot of zone, and the guys were just getting wide open at times. So maybe mixing up the scheme a little bit. But I think Spagnuolo might be a little bit worried that he can't play man with some of these guys.
And maybe the potential signing of Steven Nelson, which seems like all but done at this point. He's coming in for a visit. Steven Nelson, I took a look at PFF. He's almost exclusively run on the outside, which, by the way, actually played pretty good football last year with the Texans. His retirement kind of came as a surprise to most of those people in the Houston area. Maybe the solution is there, get Trent McDuffie back in his spot. And I think like Trent McDuffie has a good, not great year so far. You get him back in the slot. You get Steven Nelson up and going, and you hope that maybe Williams, Nelson on the outside, and McDuffie back in the slot. That's the best version of yourself. But to that point, Josh Williams leaves this game injured. Might have been a concussion, just speculating. I've not seen anything from Arrowhead yet on that. But that's scary, right? Like, you saw what the Browns did against a really good secondary that the Broncos have. I heard the comparison of Jameis Winston. He's like Two-Face from The Dark Knight. Like, you flip a coin, you never know what you're going to get with him. It's either prime Peyton Manning or Drew Lock. So we'll see what we get there, but hopefully that is
Mizzou slander on today. That's a bold move, Price.
Hey, I've got all 22 to chart of Giants Saints after this, and let me tell you, I'm not looking forward to watching that.
A couple of super chats I do want to get to. One, the gaming bros, appreciate you. Kids who are listening, earmuffs, okay? I'm giving you the warning, earmuffs, because I'm reading this. That was the loudest I've heard Arrowhead all year. Never a doubt, I fucking love all of you. Well, we fucking love you, the gaming bros. We appreciate that super chat. Thank you so much. Arrowhead was absolutely rocking for that game. Again, a lot on the line. That was electric. And then one from Anthony. Anthony says, I'll take the W all day long, but holy crap, we got issues. Don't even know where to begin. I think for me, I do want to get into this now. It's the offensive line. I know everyone was thrilled to have DJ Humphries, and almost the thought of DJ Humphries was enough to give fans hope. But the reality is he's coming off of a major injury at his age, hasn't played. He had, one padded practice in the past, year and a half? Or year-ish. That's very difficult. So I didn't have high expectations heading into this game for DJ Humphries. I'm not going to just throw his season away, but I'm also going to say it's going to take time. And not great that he left this game with an injury and Wanya Morris had to go back into said game. I've yet to see what the whole DJ Humphries injury is as of now, but I will say if he's able to go next week, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let him get the last 4 weeks of the season to get ready, because what really matters for him and for the offensive line is playoff season. Again, as long as they can keep Mahomes upright, because the amount of hits Patrick took in this game was alarming.
It was bad, man. And look, DJ Humphries in this game when he was out there was no better than Wanya Morris. It was like a bigger Wanya Morris was out there. And I'm not knocking his play, because we don't have enough information to know whether or not it's rust. I mean, it is a hell of a lot to ask a guy to step in. He's been in town for 5 minutes and go out there. And it's not like this wasn't just any team they were playing. This Chargers pass rush is very good when they're healthy and they're all on the field, and they were tonight. And so it was expected that not only was he probably going to be rusty, but also that they were going to attack that side of the line. The Chiefs had some things drawn up to try to take advantage of it. They threw right into the blitzes on that side a little bit, but he struggled. And I think we have to cross our fingers that that's not a bad hamstring injury, because would it surprise you? A guy's barely played, and then he goes out there and is trying to play 60 snaps of NFL football. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it's a serious injury. I hope that it's not, and I hope that he can. Angry Jerk German doesn't agree with me. He says he did a solid job. I don't know, man. I was watching him pretty closely. Yeah, he was getting blown away. Like, he was getting knocked down, falling down. He got beat on hand checks. It was like watching Wanya Morris out there. And again, we know we have enough tape on Wanya Morris to know that he's not ready, but this is where we're at. Patrick can't hold the ball for longer than 2 seconds, or it's big trouble. Price, what did you see from Humphries?
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that you're looking at Humphries and feeling a little bit better about, it's that this is the baseline for him, and that he's been a better player than Morris has in his career. We've not seen that from Wanya in his career, whereas we have seen it from Humphries. And I said on the halftime show, he's basically, as far as his ramp up period goes for the season, he's basically at training camp, right? He's jogging on the field for the first training camp practice. And it's no doubt that part of the reason why he probably pulled that hamstring was because his body's just not up to NFL caliber shape yet. And unfortunately, I think they probably wanted to give him more of a ramp up time than they wanted to. But Wanya Morris, Kingsley Suamataia, they forced their hands. So I thought that if there's some things, I think he looks a little bit more fluid in his kick step than Morris does. I think Morris's kick step looks really clunky and tends to be top heavy. And then the other thing is with with Morris is if he pretty much attacks the rusher the same way every time. And we saw in that Raiders game, like they were basically double hand swiping him every time, and the edge rusher was winning. Whereas that part of Humphrey's game is probably going to be more clean just because he's a more polished pass protector. So with the hamstring, you don't really know. I think that part of it really stinks too, because what he needs more than anything is reps with those guys, because we saw the delayed stunts, 3 and 4 man pass rushes winning consistently against the Chiefs offensive line, and some of it was miscommunication. We know this interior offensive line is supposed to be the strength of this offensive line. Not all of this pass rush and all these hits on Patrick Mahomes were on Taylor and Humphreys. At some point, some of that does fall on some of the other players. We saw a rep where Tooney basically miscommunicated with Humphreys and went and helped his outside shoulder, and then Tuli Pelotu comes up the inside and gets a free rush on Patrick Mahomes. So, Tim Grunhard or some of the other great guys who used to do offensive line in Kansas City will tell you, like reps, it's one of the most valuable things you have in practice, and offensive line's communication is absolutely key. So unfortunately with Humphreys, and we think it's a hamstring injury, probably is, that's going to be a big issue.
I almost want to say this was not Patrick's best game of the season, but it has to be up there for the amount of pressure and duress he was under the entirety of this game. The adjustments he made of getting the ball out early, some of those RPOs, but quickly getting out to Hopkins, to Kelsey. Like that third down play to basically ice it, to set up the field goal, was quintessential Patrick Mahomes, where he is immediately getting rushed. They roll out right. Guys are all around him. He buys time and then finds Travis Kelsey. Like Patrick, to me, I thought played a phenomenal game in this one. I don't know your guys' thoughts, but it really feels like the first 6, 7 or so games of the year, Patrick was struggling. But he's really starting to find his groove. The only issue is it's coinciding with the offensive line having their biggest issues.
Yeah, I think he did a nice job. And look, credit the Chargers. They had a good game plan. They were really aggressive on defense with their blitzes. They weren't afraid of the Chiefs beating them, and it worked for them. And I gotta give a shout out. The Chiefs do not win this game without Samaje Perine. That blitz pickup he had on the big pass play to Worthy on that last drive was huge. Gave Mahomes just enough time. I forget who it was on the Chargers, came through completely clean, absolutely wrecked Perine, but he hit him and moved him off to the side enough that Pat was able to step up into the pocket. Those are the little things that the Chiefs do that are just so huge, and that's the difference between winning and losing. And of course, Perine had the nice catch and run. But boy, it was that huge. He's sort of stepping into that Jerick McKinnon personal protector role, and boy, does Mahomes need it. He got hit 13 times in this game. Let's move to the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, as Sterling pointed out, great game by Mahomes. No interceptions, which is the most important thing. He didn't turn the ball over, but boy, did he get beat up. I was just losing it on Twitter at the lack of called runs. They were in the fourth quarter, and they had only had 13 running plays. One of them was a Mahomes scramble. Price, talk to me, man. Like, you get Isaiah Pacheco back. And then when they finally had to run it at the end of the game because they were trying to milk clock, they looked like the team that we saw earlier this season with Kareem Hunt that was running it down the middle and controlling the clock and controlling the time of possession. Why won't Andy run the ball the last 2 weeks?
I equate it to this, right? Like whenever I started working from home during the pandemic, I learned that the kitchen is very close to my office, and certain foods cannot be in the house or else I will eliminate the threat. All right. Like me and Oreos can't be in the house together or else they're gonzo. Okay. So like Andy Reid, the big red button is pass the ball, right? And he cannot help himself with that big red button. He wants to do it all the time. 3rd and 1, the Chiefs have struggled with pass protection all the time, and they run that sprint out thing that they've done a million times to ice a game or to extend a drive with Chad Henne even in the AFC divisional against the Browns. And sure enough, there they are. And I think like one of the big developments for this offense the last couple of years, partially because the defense has been better, is them running the ball when they needed to. I remember a drive against the Chargers in LA a couple of years ago. I think it was around Christmas time where they had one of those mini walk-off winners they've had against the Chargers where they ran the ball the entire drive with Pacheco. And it's exactly what they needed. And, I think that like Pacheco and Hunt kind of started off a little bit slow in this game and then started to pick up. That's part of it too, is wearing down the defense. I hate the like established a run kind of cliche, but in this instance, I do think that they really needed to add the element to get some of the pass rush to slow down the Chargers. I think we saw some nice adjustments in the second half, particularly going into halftime with that hurry up offense. We saw a lot of those like 1 or 2 step drops where they were just getting the ball out to Worthy and Hopkins really quickly. I thought they had some really good answers. Something that was just like very clear though is that the deep passing game was just non-existent in this game as well. Dating back to training camp, we've talked about, hey, this offense, they want to stretch the field. They want to push the ball downfield, use Xavier Worthy's speed, but you got to be able to protect for 4 or 5 seconds for that to happen. And right now the Chiefs are struggling to do that for 2 or 3 seconds. Chargers, as always, had a pretty good game plan for Travis Kelce in this game. He routinely has carved them up in this game. And I think that that's just kind of the clear difference that you see in Travis Kelce. It used to be, you cannot put a linebacker on Travis Kelce. You better put a corner or safety. And then we see Diane Henley running stride for stride with Kelce down the seam. That's really the difference. And let's be real. I hate doing this because you can say this about any game, but you flip 1 or 2 plays in this game and the Chiefs could be winning by multiple scores, that DeAndre Hopkins catch, etc. But overall, I think that this is kind of another business-like performance from the offense. To me, the biggest obstacles continue to be pass protection and then getting a good rhythm for the run game. The last 2 games, there's just been some really head-scratching late down calls, 3rd and 4th down, where it's like, oh, it's 3rd down. Let's throw the ball 45 yards down the field. Okay. Let's do that on 2nd and 8 or, 2nd and 3 whenever you get a nice first down run. But you know what? 3rd and 1 on your own 20. Let's throw the ball 45 yards down the field to Baylor Cup or whoever. Need more Baylor Cup targets in my life.
I don't know, after the first target goes his way and he promptly drops.
You got to feel for the guy, right? He's got the rookie patch on his thing. This is my time. This is my moment to shine. He just drops the ball. That's probably what I would do in the NFL. But yeah, at that point I was like, Baylor, who? What the? Come on, get this guy off the field.
I'm with the majority of the chat. Again, the Chiefs are not going to be the most effective team running the football. They were for the first 8 weeks, 9 weeks, where the EPA, rushing the football, their efficiency metrics were incredible. They were 1 at one point. That has slowly started to trend down, but it's not this abomination in the run game where it's unplayable. And I think that's what we're all talking about, is it doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be electric. It doesn't have to be Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry running the football. What you need is to try and keep the defense guessing a little bit, because the pass rush is getting to Patrick too quickly. And I guess some of the frustration arises from the Chiefs are already rocking 12 personnel, more than any other team in the NFL. And this is not necessarily a knock. It's not a knock, by the way. I'll say that right now. This is not a knock on Noah Gray or Travis Kelce, but they're pass-catching tight ends first and foremost. Their skill set is not blocking tight ends. The Chiefs have gone through so many different variations of that third tight end. Peyton Hendershot was going to be that guy. Peyton Hendershot got injured. I don't know what Baylor Cup is going to be. I have no idea if he's a pass, a block. I have no idea which way he's swinging. But what it comes down to is the Chiefs have tried to get a little heavier personnel. They're not going to be this great run team, but you still need to see it more. Because as of right now, teams are teeing off on Patrick. I think Jawaan Taylor, some Chiefs fans are probably going to disagree with me. I don't agree with Collinsworth all the time. I think he also pointed out a specific time when Jawaan Taylor was not early. But Jawaan Taylor does seemingly line up farther off the line than he legally should. At times, I do think he's getting a little bit of a quick start. That, yes, at times he does time it very, very well, but I'm shocked at times he doesn't get called for it. And he's still giving up a lot of pressures. Run the ball. Let Patrick breathe down here. Let your defense breathe at times, too.
Well, especially when what you have to do right now to move the football is quick, short passes. Well, it sure as hell helps when it's 3rd and 4 and not 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12, because the more you're passing on those early downs, that's just more opportunities for bad things to happen, right? It's more opportunities for the tackles to give up a sack or to blow up the pass play because you don't have enough time for the receivers to get through their routes. It's another chance for them for Jawaan Taylor to get a penalty or to get a holding penalty, as opposed to getting into those 2nd and medium or 3rd and short situations, which was working for them so early this year. And they were like, yeah, screw it. We don't care. We'll run Kareem Hunt 25 times. We'll give him 26 touches. Well, now you've got Isaiah Pacheco back. And I thought we were going to see more when Pacheco came back. I thought we were going to see a little bit more of the outside running game from this team, because Kareem Hunt, not as fast as he used to be, not somebody you probably really want running to the outside. Haven't seen as much of that, but just because we haven't seen many runs. Maybe they're trying to slowly ramp him back up, and they went to him late in the game when they needed to, and he showed up for them. But this is going to be crucial, because if Humphreys is on the shelf and there's nobody else coming to help them. If Donovan Smith, if they thought Donovan Smith was an option, I think that they probably would have called him by now, don't you? So this is it. This is who they have. And it's so bad that Kingsley Suamataia is not even active. So that tells you what they think about. He's not even, it doesn't even help to have him back there as a backup with Humphreys. So they're desperate, and they need to do everything they can to help themselves. Before we go any further, I got to let you know that Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and 2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athlete performances. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Just download the app today and use our code Arrowhead Addict. That's all one word, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, that's our code Arrowhead Addict, all one word, to get up to $1,000 bonus cash instantly. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama or Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado. For some games, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona. With some states with Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Consult with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York to 467-369. What do you think, Sterling? I've been practicing.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot better. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
I think you still got me beat by a couple of. We're gonna have to have a race at some point.
I mean, we'll do it. It'll be like Tyreek Hill versus Kelvin Benjamin.
Kelvin Benjamin.
Like,
oh, come on, man. Give me some more. What about Waddle? Waddle's really fast.
Yeah, but I mean,
so what are you guys seeing in Pacheco, Sterling? Does he look like fully back to you?
Yeah, I think Pacheco looks fully back to me. I don't want to run him to the ground yet again. He pops up so quickly. He looks for the physicality. He looks to initiate contact. I almost wish, again, we're talking about running the football more. I still would like to see a little bit of a 50-50 split with him and Kareem Hunt. I do think Kareem Hunt's vision is very underrated, especially on short yardage situations. That actual swing pass to Kareem Hunt, I thought was a great job of him in the moment, setting up the blocker of looking like he was going outside and going back in. But in regards to Isaiah Pacheco, yeah, I've been impressed with him. Again, I know a lot of folks were enamored by that 34-yard run. I was too. We're all talking about the explosiveness he brings back. He's more explosive than Kareem, but he's still not a guy who's going to rip you off a 20-plus yarder every single game. His long tonight was 9 yards. But still, he brings a different flavor to this offense. So glad to have him back.
All right. Price, what about you? Pacheco, looking good? Slowed down by the plate in his leg?
Hey, shout out to those of us who have had fractured tibias and 7 screws and a plate in my ankle. That was the first time that they were talking about on the broadcast. They're like, "Oh, he's had this surgery," and I was like, "Hey, I had that exact same injury around this time last year, so I can equate. I'm built just like him, except the fact that he's playing an NFL game, and I was still limping at this point in my rehab. But here's the thing with Pacheco. I feel like the difference between him and Kareem Hunt is just that extra burst, that extra yard or two at contact. Like Kareem Hunt, it feels like you see the contact and he goes down. And with Pacheco, he just gets that extra yard or two that's huge. They tried to a little bit in this game. Going back and when Pacheco's return was coming, I kind of went back into NFL Pro and looked at some of the plays he had made. He makes a much bigger impact in the dump off game as far as passing goes, where all right, he's out there in the flat, his speed, he can get you, what is a 1 yard pass until a 10-15 yard gain. So I would like to see that continued development, but I'd say that he's probably like 95% of the way back. The explosive isn't quite there, especially I feel like that long run that he had last week. Maybe he houses that one in the past. Pacheco's kind of like sneaky slow, sneaky fast, right? Like the way he runs, the toddler trying on shoes for the first time thing, where like it looks like he's running so fast, but he's not actually that fast. I'm not sure. Like I feel like he's 95% of the way back, but I just think again, like taking something off of Kareem Hunt's plate is huge. And like I feel like the Chiefs running back room is probably in the best place it's been in quite some time. They certainly aren't Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery combo, but I feel like they've got a guy who has got good vision, good pass protection, good pass catching skills, and Kareem Hunt, who I think at times reads the screen game better than Pacheco does. And then you've got just like your classic in between the 20s downhill runner with Pacheco who can punish you. That's the difference. Is like with Kareem Hunt, you want 10 yards, you're getting 3 yards. You want 2 yards, you're getting 3 yards, baby. That was Kareem Hunt. Like Pacheco's a little bit more like, you want 10 yards, I can get you 12. You want 10 yards, sometimes I'm going to get you 2. So the variance there is exciting. And again, like I would like to see them continue to get the ball in his hand in the passing game. They targeted him on that first drive or on that final drive. Deion Henley made a nice play in coverage on him. But overall, I think like better days are ahead for the run game.
A couple super chats I want to get to. One from Lucky Croc. Lucky, appreciate it. Says Mike Tirico's call off the upright and in was exactly the same as the Denver doink by Cairo Santos in 2016. It brings me back. Hell yeah. Great call right there. Appreciate that, Lucky. Another one here. Let me see. From KCDC. Appreciate you, KCDC. You're awesome. Always appreciate you. It says Slothy is probably drunk celebrating in the parking lot, so I'll donate in his honor. My $19.17 again. Thank you, Slothy. Thank you, KCDC, for doing the score right there. A W is a W. We're freaking AFC champs 9 years straight, baby. Hashtag 3-peat. Again, for all this, I get it. The Chiefs are not playing good football. It's frustrating to watch. But they do keep winning. Imagine if you're the Panthers. Imagine if you're the Bears. Imagine if you're the Saints. Like if you're the Giants. All these hapless organizations with no sort of outlook. The Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They're 12-1. They have Patrick and Andy Reid. Like, I get it. We're complaining and we're looking for how this might affect them come playoff time. Part of the reason why I've been, I think, calmer than most is the Chiefs now have 4 weeks to land the plane. Last year, they had, 1 or 2? Because Christmas Day happened and it was an absolute and utter disaster. We thought the season was over. People were planning things in January saying, well, we know the Chiefs won't be playing in February. It won't matter. And yet what happened? They hoisted the Lombardi. So I think because I have witnessed that just less than a year ago, I'm more reserved in my anger. But again, there are still a lot of things to fix. And again, I will never tell a fan how to fan.
Shout out.
What was that, Patrick? Are you okay?
I'm sorry. I got
toast. What?
I was watching the YouTube stream because I wanted to do some super chats, but I was behind, and I was like, "Wait, Sterling, stop talking!" But on my screen, he's still talking because there's a delay. Anyway, Mike at Sweden, one of our great friends here at the podcast, been a member for 35 months. Says we won, Bills lost. Just keep winning. Just keep winning. Let's fucking go. And then Cooper Steiner. For the super chat, go Chiefs. Should the Chiefs have gone for a touchdown that last drive, given that they have a backup kicker? Cooper, yes. I don't know. It was such a close field goal though, Price. Like, you're trying to run it. You have a chance of fumbling. It's a pretty automatic kick. I know maybe the nerves got the best of them there a little bit, and it almost backfired on them, but you never have to say you're sorry for winning. But let's talk through it. Price, you think they should have went for the touchdown?
Yes, they absolutely should have. That would have put them up 9 with, minutes left. The Chargers already drained all their field goal or all their timeouts. The worst thing you're going to do is go down at the 1 and make the kick even easier, right? I get the strategy of trying to ice the game there, basically run out the clock. It's tough, right? Like you're in this weird space where it's like, well, we don't want to score too fast, right? And would the Chargers consider letting the Chiefs get a touchdown, like letting them score essentially? Just because I had watched the Bills-Rams game before, onside kicks are being fielded by the returning or the team doing the onside kick at a 7% rate in the NFL this year. So very, very low percentage. At that point, I would much rather have the 2-score luxury in that instance with a minute 20, minute 19 left and no timeouts for their Chargers.
Where are you getting the score from? How are you getting the 9 points?
Because the Chiefs were down 16. They were down, 16. What were they down? 16, 15, 16, 14?
They were down 1, right?
Yeah, but they were down 1, but they wouldn't have been able to go up 9.
You could have gone for 2, is what I'm saying.
They would have gone. Yeah.
You should have gone for 2 to make it a 2-score game.
You'd go up 7.
They're down 1.
Am I being dumb here? And
they're down 1,
and the Chiefs score 8 points.
That would put them up 9.
That's up 7. They're down 1. Price. They're down 1. They score 8.
I was told there'd be no math.
Am I taking crazy pills? Like,
no, you're right.
Like,
never
they're down
math.
1. They
never
score 8. They're
show.
now up 7.
Well, I was thinking. I'm trying to remember.
They would have gone for 2 to make it a 7-point game.
Yeah, to make it a 7-point game.
Not 9.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They still should have gone for it. I'm on the same page as you, but you're making me look bad, Price.
No, you're right. I was.
He's making his math teachers look bad.
Oh, dude, math? Absolutely not, right? Like, I have a music degree. That's what I studied in college. There's a reason, because I can only count to 4, buddy. Okay, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, either way, I still think you still go for it because, like I said, the worst thing you're going to do is make the field goal easier. If it's at the 1 or 2 yard line or whatever. In general, I'm for them being more aggressive there. I'm wondering if they would have went for a 4th down there or if they would have just kicked it right. Thankfully, they didn't have to face that scenario where they were able to drain the clock. But yeah, I think that they, in general, kind of soften up too much there. At the end of the game, it kind of seemed like they were just kind of doing the classic run the ball into the ground and wait for it. But then they hit that pass to Kelsey to extend the drive. And that was really the backbreaker at that point. But yeah, I don't know. Andy Reid seems to continue to play and manage the game like he has this elite defense, which was nice when it was elite. I'm not sure that it's still that elite, but it worked in this instance.
So they're not going to have Hollywood Brown next week, but there's a chance he could be back maybe for the Texans game, maybe perhaps more realistically the game on Christmas Day. Sterling, do you think adding Hollywood Brown to this offense without any significant improvement to the offensive line is going to make any kind of difference?
I want to say yes, but I think the answer, like, realistically is no. It's the offensive line. Like, I don't. Yes, it's great. Maybe Rashee Rice I'd have a different answer for, right? But Hollywood's never played a regular season game in this system. I know it's an AC, injury, so it's not like an ACL. So when it comes to his legs and, and movement and all that stuff, it should be a quicker return time as far as getting into game shape. But again, until the offensive line gets fixed, and Hollywood can do some of the underneath route stuff, don't get me wrong, but that hasn't been the issue. Xavier Worthy is coming on really nice. DeAndre Hopkins has a nice connection already. Noah Gray and Travis Kelce are still doing their thing underneath. To me, it comes down to the offensive line, so I'm not expecting this massive boost when Hollywood comes back. I want it to happen, but the realist in me is kind of pulling back just a little bit here.
Yeah, I think you just go from like Xavier Worthy getting 4 catches for 40 yards to Hollywood Brown getting 4 catches for 40 yards or vice versa. But you never know. You never know. It is another threat out there. It's a veteran. And again, this is a guy that they had big plans for. They worked on things all throughout training camp, and they haven't gotten to do any of those things. And so I just wonder how much the Chiefs are holding back offensively. I don't know that they're throwing the kitchen sink at teams just yet on offense. One, because I don't think they have the kitchen sink. But I think when they get Hollywood Brown back with Xavier Worthy's improvement, with DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce, like you've got something to work with. If they can just get some marginal improvement along the offensive line, I think they can. I think they can keep up with some of these teams. I mean, they just played Buffalo. I mean, you saw what Buffalo did today. They scored 1 billion points, and they were down 2 points. And if their defense could have gotten a stop in the fourth quarter, they would have had the same situation they had tonight against the Chargers. The ball end of the game with a chance to win it. So nobody has blown this team out, as uneven as their play has been, as ugly as their play has been at times. And I just think at this point, you just have to trust that this is who this team is. And they're going to be in close games probably no matter who they play. And that most of the time they're probably going to find a way to win. And I, after watching Herm Edwards and Romeo Crennel and Matt Castle, sign me up for that. I'll take it. All right, let's give away some hardware here because some guys did play pretty well in this one. It's time for our favorite segment on the Victory Party Show, Earning Their Arrowheads. Let us know in the chat which Chiefs players you thought balled out today and earned their Arrowhead. Let's start with you, Price. Who gets an Arrowhead from you for this performance?
I'm going to give away 2. I'm going to cheat a little bit and pick like the most obvious man in Kansas City. I'm going to give mine to Patrick Mahomes. Over Patrick Mahomes' last 7 games, 1,800 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 300 yards per game. He's been really good when the rest of the offense hasn't necessarily been good. And it's not been easy. And I think he's making things work the best that he can. There are a lot of people who will tell you that he's not playing well and that's the struggles. We're not worried about the yards that are left on the field because I do feel like there's plenty of yards left on the field for some of these big shots. But that's still really good play. And for a guy that at one point was leading the NFL in interceptions, that's been a really nice turnaround, especially in the turnover department. Only 3 interceptions during that time. And one of those came on the last like Hail Mary play of the Bills game where he's basically just trying to make something happen. My other one, I'm giving to Chris Jones. Tackle for loss in this game, but that doesn't really tell the full story. If you watch this game, he was an absolute disruptor in this game, constantly winning so other guys like Tershawn Wharton can win. Nick Bolton can win. And, he pretty much was disrupting any game plan that happened where he was one-on-one. You saw him win one-on-one on the edge against Joe Alt on the outside. He continues to be a factor. He's a ball knower test. If you have people who say like, oh, well, Chris Jones not playing well, that's why defensive line didn't get enough pressure. Don't know ball. Okay. This guy, he is winning at a consistent level all the time. It's the guys on the one-on-ones who are going to have to win. But he was a menace tonight and a huge part of why the Chiefs defense walked in with a 0 point allowed in the first half.
Chris was getting off quick, really quick. Did you notice that?
Oh man, that play where he got the jet sweep. I'm not sure I've ever seen a guy win that quickly with the jet sweep at the interior defensive line, right? Like he was back there. He'd be like a step further. He could have taken the handoff.
It almost looked like the play was designed for him.
Yeah, really special stuff from him. Again, like the Chiefs, they're just kind of like the unk team at this point, where it's just like, can they get like these old guys like to be playing as well as they can? Like Chris Jones is 30. Can Travis Kelce flip the switch? I think we've seen in these big moments, Chris Jones still has another gear. They just got to get him to play less snaps. Like he's just playing so many snaps. I would like to see that at some point, but that's a story for another day. But Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, here's my Arrowhead.
All right. Before I get to mine, I want to give a shout out to Steven for the super chat. Appreciate you, Steven. Says, great win. Need to keep this going. Let's go. Great opportunity with the Buffalo loss. Yes, all of those things. I agree with all of those things. Also, shout out to Green Spectre. I'm doing well. Man. I hope you are as well. Doing outstanding. I'm going special teams. I'm going with Matthew Wright. I know it doinked in, but he also made that 50-yarder. So shout out Matthew Wright. Ariza with one of the best punts you'll ever see. That one that was right on the 1-yard line.
Can't do that in Madden.
Yeah, I don't even know if he needed a defender not a defender, a gunner to go down and tap it. I think that thing was going to just stop on the 1. That was incredible. And also, shout out Justin Reed. Justin Reed on kickoffs. I don't know how we've gone this entire show without just bringing up that nonsense, but how awesome was that? Justin Reed did a really nice job on the kickoffs, I thought, overall. Cool to see. Also just shows you the depth this Chiefs team has. That's like their 4th kicker? I'd have to assume who's at least done a kickoff. Right? Schrader,
yep.
Wright, Butker, and now Justin Reed. So they've now had 4 different kickoff guys. That's pretty damn impressive. And then also, I'm sorry, I forgot Remigio. I thought Remigio brought a little juice. So I'm going to go ahead and just say all of the special teamers.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, let's go to the chat before I give mine away. Charlie says Arrowhead to Nick Bolton for putting the smack down. Nick was a demon tonight, was all over the field. Love it. Let's see if there was any others here. Yeah, Roncentrate says special teams is a good call. Right, Ariza, Reed, Remigio. Look, I'm going to give one. I'm giving one to P. Ryan. I already called him out. He had a nice play on offense, a great play in pass protection that was crucial. I got to give one to Xavier Worthy. He's had some knucklehead plays throughout his rookie season, which nobody can really blame him for. 6 targets, 5 receptions this one, 41 yards, including a really huge conversion that helped them ice the game. I got to give one to Travis Kelce for sticking with Patrick on that third down play and getting that first down and allowing the Chiefs to run out the rest of the clock. The old man still making the plays when it counts. And I want to give one to, on the defensive side of the ball, Trent McDuffie. I thought Trent McDuffie played a really good game today. And shout out to George Karlaftis as well. Furious George, always bringing the juice, always bringing the effort. Isn't always going to overwhelm guys with his moves, but he's just always going a million miles an hour. He comes flying around the edge. It's got to be disconcerting, right? He's so relentless, and you're worried if you're a quarterback. You're so worried about Chris Jones, and you see this guy flying around in your peripheral vision. And I'm sure that I think he impacts quarterbacks even when he actually doesn't get too close to them, just because they're like, oh God, this maniac's coming, and I've got Chris Jones, and I just better get rid of the ball. So shout out to Furious George as well. And I agree with you, Sterling. If you're right, you can't be wrong. And he was incredible with that kick. Somebody said, shout out to the upright for, I didn't see who it was, but the upright gets an Arrowhead for bonking that ball back through. That was absolutely huge. So let's look ahead before we leave here. Here's how things stand. Because the Chiefs won and the Bills lost, KC is atop the AFC playoff standings at 12-1. They're 7-1 in the conference, 5-0 in the division. They're AFC West champions. Buffalo now is up against it. They can't lose to the Detroit Lions. If they lose to the Detroit Lions and the Chiefs beat the Cleveland Browns, I don't think it's clinched, but it's pretty much a wrap at that point. Buffalo, big game for them next week in Detroit, and big game for Kansas City.
Detroit gets a mini bye too, right? They played on Thursday night. They get 10 days to rest up. That defense is really torn up, but boy, they battled against a good Packers offense. I was really impressed by that.
That could be another just absolute score fest. I think that's going to be a must-watch game next week. Then you got Pittsburgh's the 3 seed at 10-3. Houston's the 4 at 8-5. Baltimore, the first wild card at 8-5. The Chargers dropped to 8-5. They're the 6 seed. The Broncos at the 7 seed at 8-5. Those are your playoff teams, everybody. It's over. The Colts are 6-7. The Dolphins are 6-7. It's possible. Maybe Miami makes a run. Unlikely. Cincinnati's 4-8. They're toast. So those are your playoff teams. You can start doing the matchups in your head about who the Chiefs might play, but they're probably going to play. If they get that 1 seed, there's a chance if the Chargers or Broncos win, they're going to be playing those teams again for a third time. I don't like the idea of playing a division rival for a third time in the playoffs. I don't like it one bit. Interestingly enough, do you guys, if the Chiefs get this 1 seed, because of the Steelers sort of like overachieving a little bit and likely winning the North, they've got a really good shot to do that. Chiefs could, in the second round, be hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Is that what you would want if you were a Chiefs fan?
I don't care at this point. They proved last year. Doesn't matter who you play. I mean, it's the playoffs. You're going to play a good team. I'm always the minority of this. Like, I get March Madness a little different because there's 15 seeds and all that stuff. Upsets happen. NFL, for the most part, you're going to have to play a good team at some point. Would I like to play the Ravens and the Bills and all, like the gauntlet? Not necessarily, but if you're good enough, which we saw the Chiefs were last year, which I think the Chiefs can be this year if they get their offensive line right, just beat them. Take care of business, because then it's that much sweeter. How sweet was it last year beaten what was the hardest playoff stretch in NFL history. It made it that much sweeter.
Yeah. Price, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Sterling points it out, especially in the AFC this year, where like the worst quarterback is Bo Nix, who's still playing really well. You've got a Super Bowl winner in Russell Wilson. Justin Herbert's a top 5, top 7 quarterback. You've got Josh Allen playing out of his mind. You've got Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP winner. It's just not going to be easy in the AFC, and it never is. And whenever Chicago drafted Caleb Williams, I was like, okay, good. Finally, we get an elite quarterback over to the NFC. And then they did the Chicago Bear thing and absolutely ruin his year.
Or drafted him over Jaden Daniels, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, at least Daniels is in the NFC, right? At least Daniels is in the NFC. But still, like in the AFC, it's just going to be this way every year. And really, really, I think the biggest thing is, and we saw this in 2022, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen go head-to-head. Joe Burrow has to beat the Ravens the week before. I think the winner of this playoff in the AFC might just be the guy who doesn't have to go through Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Bo Nix and Justin Herbert, right? Because like that's a realistic path for a playoff team. The Chiefs were able to do that last year, but that's certainly not the plan. And the biggest thing you can have as an advantage is not having to play for a week. Not only do you go 1-0 that week, technically, you also get the rest, which is super valuable for guys like Travis Kelce, like Patrick Mahomes. You heard Chris Jones last week say, like, hey, I'm going to go to the NFLPA. If we've got to play 3 games in 10 days, it's bogus that we get a week 6 bye. Chiefs don't need a week 6 bye, right? They've played more football than any other team over the last 4 or 5 years with all their deep postseason runs. So the best thing they can do is get that bye week. So yeah, it's huge, right? And someone pointed this out on Twitter. This is huge. Not only do the Bills play the Lions, the Steelers play the Eagles, right? Those two teams lose and the Chiefs take care of business against the Browns. They could potentially lock up the 1 seed by playing the Texans the following week. That's huge, right? To be able to lock that up, they could be in a situation where they could have 21 days off if they take off that Broncos game, which, by the way, Verderam's been really big about this. If the Broncos take care of business against the Colts, the Broncos might not even have to play that week either. So it might be like a Carson Wentz, Zach Wilson showdown at Mile High. Something that we all want. That'll be like a Sunday noon kick if I've ever seen one.
That's what the people want to see. All right, everybody, we got to get out of here because Sterling's going to fall asleep sitting up. We appreciate you. This is the Arrowhead Addict podcast. If you want to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast community, check out the link in the description wherever you get the show and leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts. We're on a quest to get to 400 reviews over there. We're at like 379 or something. So help us out. Leave us a 5-star review over there. If you ask us a question in your written review, I'll answer it on the Thursday show.
Tweet us when you're in your Spotify top 5. If we're in your Spotify Wraps, tweet at us and we'll retweet
people
it.
do listen to us on Spotify. That's right. All right, great. Okay, everybody. Shout out to everybody who was involved today. Adam Best, Matt Connor, of course, producer Sean, Price Carter, and of course, Sterling Holmes. I am Patrick Allen. We'll see you guys next week for our regular slate of shows to celebrate the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs in a decade of dominance. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.